The following message is transmitted at the request of the Los Angeles County Office of Emergency Management. Reports of violent riots in a straight and single-file line have been reported, originating from the coast of Santa Monica and stretching eastward. Local, state, and federal authorities have been notified and are responding to the incident. It is requested that you remain indoors in a locked and safe environment. If you live near any areas of Santa Monica and areas north of I-10 in a 30-mile radius, stay tuned to local media outlets and know weather radio for more information. The following message is transmitted at the request of the President of the United States. A horde of unpeaceful and violent rioters are assuming hostile, tactical, and offensive positions, taking any means necessary to take human life. It is requested that all residents of the United States of America shelter in place until further notice. Residents of the United States along the 34-degree line of latitude are requested to take any and all actions necessary to protect themselves from attack. At this point, if any unrecognized individual steps on your property with a weapon, which is at this time believed to be a pair of shears, you have full rights to defend your property. The United States Department of Defense has troops on the ground and a war has been declared. Follow-up messages will be broadcast shortly.
Vaping, you see it. It's a growing trend among teens, and it's also a health concern for many school administrators. Locally, they're seeing more kids doing it. ABC 7's Leah Hope is here now with a look at why teens are drawn.
Please stand by. A spokesperson from the United States Department of Defense will make a public address shortly. Please stand by. A spokesperson from the United States Department of Defense will be with you shortly.
The following message is addressed on behalf of Director Jakinowski of the Department of Homeland Security. Fellow Americans, we are under attack from a previously hidden experiment of our own. These creatures will hurt you, but that is not the reason for the experiment. Please, at any way possible, protect yourself. There are 327 Americans. There are 327 million of them. Those of you who own firearms, stand your ground. Those who don't, barricade yourselves. These beings are intelligent. They know how you live, and they know where you go. Outsmart them, and you will live. We have over 3 million armed troops from the United States and Canada assisting in the situation. However, we are not the only place being affected. It is expected that over the next 24 hours, populations of these beings will start emerging from tunnels along the 34-degree line of latitude. You aren't safe if you aren't on this line. They have no sense of tiredness. Eventually, even if you live at the northernmost part of the continent, they will get to you. Those brave enough to do so, fight any being that seems unfazed by you. You are doing your country a favor. In this situation, we are trying to be as transparent as possible. In an effort to preserve bandwidth for government use, please refrain from telephone or internet usage, but stay tuned to TV and radio outlets. Amateur radio operators, tune to 7.175 MHz or 146.52 MHz. Stay in touch. Stay safe.
United States when he was 8 years old. His childhood dream was to become a pilot.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the U.S. Department of Defense. Until further notice, all citizens are ordered to return to an indoor structure. All U.S. highways and interstates are to be clear within the next 30 minutes. Do not return to U.S.-operated roadways until further notice. This is a mandatory order for your safety and the safety of the Worldwide Agglomerated Civil Defense Association. Do not return to roadways. Again, the public remains in extreme danger. Seek shelter in a building, and remember all tips and orders from earlier emergency notifications. Make sure you have food, water, and a sustainable means of receiving communications. Stay tuned to know weather radio and commercial radio to get updates. Expect a live voice announcement from the U.S. Department of Defense shortly.
This is Chicago's all-news station. News Radio 780 and 105.9 FM and CBSChicago.com.
Good evening. I'm your host, Dan Sawinski, News Radio 780 WBBM. It has come to our attention that the Department of Defense has issued a statement regarding the shelter-in-place situation and the so-called war on the clones. Let's take a listen.
Fellow Americans, it is with mixed happiness and disgust that we announce to you the conclusion of the war on the clones. Since 1986, we have been experimenting on artificial humans here at the Department of Defense. They seem human, but have no mental ability to learn. They simply mirror the person who has a similar DNA makeup. They have, over the last 30 years, however, began to evolve and have recently begun to learn. Furthermore, they have learned about leadership. They realized that they were living in captivity and have had a plan to take over planet Earth for approximately 3 years. Only in the last month, however, have their plans turned violent, according to a captured clone. Not only was this a shock to the Department of Defense, but this was never the intent of this experiment. I would like to point out that these clones are not human and never can be. They do not have the same organic makeup, nor do they have any internal organs other than their brain and heart. They do not eat, they do not sleep, they don't drink, and they do not have any sort of bowel movements. They are not human. That being said, that does not excuse our unprofessional and unethical behaviors. After all this blows over, we'll have a full in-person press release that will go unedited and will be completely live. All questions will be answered. We thank the public for its help, but unfortunately, we did lose some civilian life. At this time, it is estimated that we lost 124 civilians and 2 public servants. We did not lose any military or worldwide agglomerated Civil Defense Association members. Those that lost their lives in this war will be remembered with full military honors. If any issues persist, we remind the public to dial 911 immediately. In 3 hours, we will terminate all emergency actions. Please wait for 3 hours until entering U.S. interstates. All U.S. highways, however, are open for use. We sincerely thank the public for their outstanding work during this war. Stay safe, and God bless.
The following is an emergency action termination broadcast at the request of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, U.S. Department of Defense, and the President of the United States. All United States government activity may now resume. There is no threat. At this time, we have no inclination that any clones pose an immediate threat to human life or property. U.S. troops will continue to stay at their stations for 3 days following. This situation but all worldwide agglomerated Civil Defense Association troops will be sent back to their native countries. There is no threat. In the unlikely event that a threat reappears, the U.S. National Guard will be deployed, and civilians will be notified by emergency alert system. This concludes the emergency action termination. All emergency alert system channels shall return to regularly scheduled programming.